In a world of endless opportunities, what will you do with technology? My name is Daiana Beitler, and it's an honor to be here today to share about how Microsoft is working to empower every person and organization on the planet to achieve more. Our CEO calls it the soul of Microsoft. And I will share some thoughts about how we can work together to make sure that the fourth industrial revolution and the technology driving it create economic opportunity for all. We're living in exciting times. Advancements in technology like artificial intelligence and cloud computing are reshaping our economy, transforming how we live, how we work, and how we learn. Digital transformation will lead to advances in every field, from healthcare and education to agriculture, and will add an estimated $1.16 trillion to Asia Pacific's GDP. But what will the human impact of digital transformation be? The pace of change is creating challenges, from the impact on jobs and employability to inequitable access to the internet and the benefits it provides. So billions of people are at risk of being left behind. And we cannot afford to look at the future with uncritical eyes. So we think that with a huge opportunity that will be created through digital transformation comes responsibility. Microsoft's president, Brad Smith, put it best when he said, when you develop technology that changes the world, you have to accept responsibility for the technology and the changes that you have created. In many ways, this is an extension of the mission that has always characterized Microsoft. When Bill Gates and Paul Allen founded the company over 40 years ago, their vision was to democratize access to computing by putting a PC in every desk. And today, we're doing the same with artificial intelligence. I would even say that everything we do at Microsoft is driven by this sense of purpose and the values of trust and inclusion that customers have come to expect of us and that society actually requires of us. We look at it optimistically and actually think that artificial intelligence will create rather than replace human ingenuity. We believe that we need to approach artificial intelligence from a human standpoint, to put people first. And in order to do that, we need to have three really important conversations that put people first, basically. The first one is preventing or mitigating the negative effects that artificial intelligence can have, particularly on the workforce, and ensuring that the digital economy is inclusive of all. Secondly, we need to design systems that amplify rather than replace human intelligence and couple what AI is good at, identifying patterns, predicting, with what humans are good at, empathy, fairness, and judgment. So the questions underpinning these conversations actually demand our most thoughtful answers. What will be the impact of AI on employment? I think one of the most difficult questions that we're facing today is how technology will affect people's jobs and how we can prepare people for the jobs of tomorrow and spread economic opportunity. We know that every company is now becoming a software company, and every job is now going to be a tech-enabled job. And this is creating a lot of anxiety. Throughout moments of technological change in history, we've seen that people feel angst about whether their jobs will continue to exist and question whether these new advancements will replace the need for human labor. And there are genuine questions today about whether this time is different and whether the pace and the type of change is so drastic that it will actually be the time where technology replaces humans. If you look at the jobs that will be lost within the next decades, it's very clear that there actually will be new types of economic opportunity created and entirely new occupations of work. AI will create jobs that we cannot even imagine. In fact, studies say that 65% of children entering the primary school system today, my children, many of your children's or nephews, will actually be in jobs that do not yet exist. How do you prepare people for those kinds of jobs? LinkedIn estimates that here in Asia Pacific, there's actually a shortage of 12.3 million workers because the economy cannot find people with the right skill sets for the jobs that are growing today. And the economic opportunity cost of that skills shortage is $4.2 trillion to the regional economy. So what do we do at Microsoft Philanthropies? Well, our vision is to equip people that have been displaced or unreached by technology with the opportunity to get the skills and the knowledge they need to secure a job in the digital economy. In Asia alone, I'm really proud to share that we have 1.2 million people going through our programs every single year. And we do this with a three-pronged approach. We work with workers and with students from all backgrounds, people with disabilities, people from very remote locations, rural areas, and equip them with the technical and soft skills that we know are going to be necessary for them to get a job. We also connect with employers, particularly in our partner and customer ecosystem, so that they would provide job opportunities to these individuals. And then finally, we work with governments so that we can advance policy and make sure that we create systemic change. Let me make this really real for you. The woman that you can see on the screen is called Joan. She's 27, and she's from a very remote rural area in the Philippines, around Cebu. She went through one of the programs that Microsoft Philanthropy sponsors in a nonprofit called Passerelle Numérique, or PN for short. Joan participated in this course for 2 to 3 years, and despite having absolutely no background in technology whatsoever, ended up getting a job 1 month after graduation and is now working on AI-related projects in one of Microsoft's customers. The interesting thing is that before Joan got a chance to participate in this program, all the technology that she had seen were mice and keyboard that her parents brought from the dump site. So without knowing any technology, she's now able to develop AI and actually make the technology sector more diverse and more innovative as a result. So can we make sure that the benefits of AI are available to all? We are really committed at Microsoft to making sure that the benefits of artificial intelligence address the hardest societal issues of our time. We have a series of programs called AI for Good, where we brought technology, access to expertise, and cash to organizations working on 3 really important issues of our time. One is environmental sustainability. The second one is the inclusion of people with disabilities. And the third one is humanitarian crises. Let me walk you through one of those examples today. How do we deal with the growing demand for water, feed the world's rapidly growing population, while also stopping the loss of very fragile ecosystems and respond to an incredibly variable weather or climate? Here in our region in Asia Pacific, we have an extraordinary biodiversity. Our forests and reefs and rivers are amongst the most unique on Earth, but biodiversity is in fast decline and 100% of major ecosystems are threatened. The region actually recorded the largest number of endangered species since 2014. So we think that AI can play a critical role in the urgent task of monitoring and measuring how the Earth's natural systems work. Fundamentally, AI will strengthen our ability to observe how environmental systems are changing and then take steps to manage natural resources. So we created the AI for Earth grant, and through the grant system or program, we are contributing with technology to organizations working on biodiversity preservation, climate change, agriculture, and water management. This is an example that I'm particularly excited about and is in partnership with the World Mosquito Program. What the World Mosquito Program does, these amazing researchers that are based all over the world and have actually a laboratory in Vietnam, is that they inject a type of bacteria into mosquitoes called Wolbachia. The bacteria Wolbachia is not dangerous or doesn't hurt or harm the mosquitoes, but instead neutralizes them so they can no longer carry mosquito carry diseases or mosquito borne diseases like malaria or dengue. We've partnered with the World Mosquito Program to leverage AI and predict in which parts of the world, and particularly in Asia Pacific, there's more likelihood of having dengue or malaria or mosquito-borne diseases more broadly. And then researchers within the World Mosquito Program actually inject this bacteria into the mosquitoes and release the mosquitoes so that they can breed with other mosquitoes and neutralize them. In that way, we stop and prevent the outbreak of mosquito-related diseases across the region. Isn't that amazing? So this brings us to the third question, and perhaps one of the most difficult ones. How can we approach the development of AI in a way that is built on a foundation of ethics, that protects privacy and that fosters trust? Actually, we cannot do any of the amazing things I've been talking about if people don't trust the technologies or the companies behind them. We learned this the hard way. The headline in the picture that you're going to see actually points out that our facial recognition technology at some point was inherently biased. The error rates for white men were 1%. The error rates for darker skinned men were 12%. And the error rates for women was around 35%. You can imagine that we did not like that one bit. And so we did something about it. We created a committee within Microsoft that evaluates every single solution that we put to market and ensures that it complies with 6 important principles that we talk about as AI ethic principles. When we think about these principles, we talk about accountability, because we as a tech company need to be accountable for what our technology is doing. We talk about transparency, because we need to make sure people can see what the impact of the technology is. We think about fairness. More and more technology is making decisions about people's lives, everything from accessing credit to basically getting medical treatment. And so we need to make sure that AI treats people in a fair way. We also prioritize privacy and security, because we need to make sure that we treat people's data with respect. Similarly, we need to make sure our systems are reliable, even under unknown circumstances. And finally, we talk a lot about inclusion, because we need to make sure that our technology does not further exclude people. Let me pause on the final one for a minute and talk about inclusion, because it's no longer just a nice thing to do. It actually has become a business imperative. We're now talking about designing computers to think like human beings. And we cannot do that in a way that reflects the diversity of human thinking unless we have teams, diverse teams, working on that technology. In other words, we need to make sure that we develop technology for and by everyone. At Microsoft, we're even toying with this idea of having developers, like you guys in the audience, actually sign a Hippocratic Oath like doctors do. You know how doctors sign to this principle of doing no harm. And have actually been thinking at Microsoft whether we can ask our coders, our developers, to have a similar kind of oath of ensuring that we develop technology, putting people first, and in a way that doesn't leave anyone, including the planet, behind. To wrap up, I wanted to share with you that we understand the challenges we're trying to solve for are much larger than what a company can do alone. So today, I wanted to share that we're also partnering with other businesses, governments, and nonprofits to mitigate the negative effects of digital transformation and to actively develop technology for good. We recently announced a partnership with Grab that will equip 9 million drivers and merchants on their platform with the digital skills we know they need to become employable and get further income opportunities. A small percentage of them starting in Singapore will even complete an in-depth technical training and will finish off with a certification on cloud administration and pursue a full-time job in technology. We're incredibly excited about that. And so my call to action to you today is to partner with us to make sure that as you move technology forward as developers, or the companies that you work for move technology forward, you do not leave people and the environment behind. And if you do so, if we work together, the future will indeed be a bright one. Because when everyone has an opportunity to reach his or her full potential, we all benefit. Thank you. One of the participants of the program that I was talking about earlier today is Joshua Tseng, who is now on the line and will share with us his experience of participating in one of these programs. We partner with a nonprofit SPD here in Singapore. The program was called Code Quest, and Joshua ended up being such a fantastic programmer that he got an opportunity to have a job at Empire Code, which is one of our learning partners here in Singapore, but also in the region. Joshua looks at their R&D, the research and development, and is very special because he has a really interesting story to share with us. So with you today, it is my pleasure to introduce you to Joshua Tseng.
Okay, hi everyone. Thanks for joining us. Hope everyone's having a great weekend. My name is Joshua Tseng. I'm an accessibility advocate and speaker, and I've worked with, like Daiana said, I've worked with Empire Code to develop computer science curriculum as an R&D associate at Empire Code. So, over the next 15 minutes, we'll be talking about a few things. Number one, I'll be sharing my personal experience as a person with vision impairment. So even though I don't look it, I am a person with vision impairment. So I have an eye condition. I'll be sharing about that a little bit later. I'll be sharing about my personal journey, learning tech skills, and how I lost my eyesight and how I deal with that. And more importantly, we want to take a look at what this means for you in terms of understanding how to make things accessible for everyone else. So the company that I'm from, Empire Code, is a computer science education company. And as an R&D associate, I've developed computer science curriculum. So basically the curriculum that we use to teach people how to code. I've also done some digital marketing work for them. And the image that you're seeing on the screen right now, that's the Empire Code team during the launch party for the for the new office and headquarters for the campus that I'm sitting in right now, actually, at Empire Code. So shout out to the Empire Code team. Hello, everyone. And let's move on to our topic today. So like I said, I'll be sharing about my personal journey, about how I lost my vision, my path to higher education. And I get a lot of questions about how I'm able to code. Some people can't believe that I'm able to do it. So I'll be briefly sharing about that as well. I'll also be talking about accessibility. What is accessibility? Why should you care? And what you can do about it. So a bit about my eye condition. I have an eye condition called glaucoma. So what it is people with glaucoma have an abnormal amount of fluid built up in their eye. And this leads to increased eye pressure and damage to the optic nerve. So I was diagnosed with this condition at the age of 7, but I was born with normal eyesight. So I lost most of my vision over time. And the last time I was able to have any sort of perception that was useful vision was when I was 16, and now I'm 22. So this is a simulation on the screen of what it looks like to see through the eyes of someone with glaucoma. So, but different people have different levels of vision loss. So for me, my vision field is less than 10% in each eye, and looking through my eyes is like looking through frosted glass. So how I cope with this lack of vision, I use assistive technology. On the screen, you would be seeing me, it looks like I'm just listening to music on the phone, but actually what I'm doing is texting on my phone. So how I do this is I use a screen reader. So the phone reads out to me the text that is on the screen. And this screen reader is also the software that I have on the laptop right now that I'm streaming from. I also use things like a white cane to get around. The white cane is the stick, that's what a lot of people incorrectly call it. It's a stick that people with vision impairment use. And despite the name, the white cane, actually not all of it is white. So I have one right here. Hopefully you can see it. I have one in pink and blue. So now you know today, today you learned that not every white cane is indeed white. So that's a little bit about how I'm able to get around and do things on a normal everyday basis. So when it came to losing my eyesight, I also want to talk a little bit about how I was able to come to terms with losing my eyesight, because that's a question a lot of people ask me. And while this is not a motivational talk, I do want to talk a little bit about, from a point of view of someone with a disability, at some point you have to accept that there's certain things you can't change. And if there's something in your life that you want to pursue, you have to make the change that you want to see. So as a person with vision impairment, this was something that I had to come to terms with and think about quite heavily. The first step that I took was pursuing a higher level of education. I graduated with a diploma in marketing from Temasek Polytechnic in 2017. The picture that you see right there is of me with the guest of honor at the graduation ceremony. It's a minister in Singapore, Minister Tseng. He was the guest of honor at the graduation ceremony, and I don't know if what he said was funny or what I said was funny, but apparently we looked like we were having a good time. And I'm currently also a student at the Singapore Management of University School of Information Systems, studying with a major in digital business solutioning. So at university, it's actually where I started to learn how to code, and I'll explain a little bit of that process later on towards the end of the presentation. And why did I tell my personal story? Number one, I want to establish a sense of empathy. I want you to empathize with people with vision impairment. So by telling my personal story, hopefully you get a better understanding of how that is possible. And more importantly, I want everyone here to understand that despite our blindness, people with blindness are still people, and we can live normal lives. I want us to discover about how we can make the world a more inclusive society, not just for blind people, but for everyone, and what we can do to take action today. Accessibility. What is accessibility in the first place? Accessibility is about equal access and opportunity for everyone, regardless of their situation or disability. So for example, if I have something that is usable for people age 5 or age 50, whether they are deaf or blind, whether they are Asian or African, the product that you're using should not discriminate based on that. This is important because the internet is now being thought of more and more as a utility, not a privilege that only rich people are having, but everyone, a utility that everyone should have. So when it comes to something like that, especially in the beginning stages, the internet was not a very accessible place, but now we're trying to take steps to improve that. Accessibility has also become a legal and ethical requirement for a lot of businesses, and simply from a practical point of view, it makes business and engineering sense. You'd rather do something, if you have to do something, which is make your product accessible, you'd rather do it once and do it right than have to fix it twice. Examples of inaccessible design. For example, if you send out a poster that is just an image with no text, that happens to me very frequently at school, and that is not accessible design for people with vision impairments. If you have a large-scale event where you have a lot of speakers, but you have no sign language interpreters, that's inaccessible for people who are deaf and hard of hearing. And if you have an app that uses very complicated multi-touch gestures, that is inaccessible to people who have muscular or skeletal issues. So that's not a good thing. How can you prevent falling into the traps of making inaccessible design? You can ask yourself a few questions. So if you're a producer, you should ask yourself questions like, what is it in my product that is preventing other people from using it? If you're a consumer, you can be a more conscious consumer by asking, how is what I'm using right now not usable for other people? If you're a leader, you think about how your actions could exclude people in your team. You don't want that to happen. And if you're a team player, you yourself have actions that can create barriers within the team. So you want to think about how you can act in a way that includes more and more people. So moving on, I have a process for us as well. So accessibility is a two-way process, right? It's one thing for people to design accessible systems for people with vision impairment or people with disabilities or any other marginalized community. But it's another thing for us to play our part as well to make accessible design possible, right? You can't make a village that wants to invite everyone in, but the person that you're inviting doesn't want to come in. So for people with vision impairment, for example, this is the step-by-step process that I used when I was learning how to code in order to make things accessible for me myself. So let's walk through this process. So step one, what do I want to accomplish? So when I was coding in university, when I was learning my introduction to programming module, obviously the end result was I wanted to be able to code. I wanted to be able to do my assignments. I wanted to be able to code in programming language we used was Python. So what does everyone do to achieve it? Every week we have lectures. And the thing about coding lectures is that a lot of them are conducted with the professor coding on his computer, and it's being projected onto the screen. Now, obviously, that is not accessible for me, but luckily my school had an assistant there to tell me what was on the screen. And doing this, I realized that I was able to keep up. So, so I tried. I realized, okay, I can follow the lesson, but there's certain things that I'm missing. There's certain gaps in my knowledge. So how can I cover it? So that's what obstacles, not everything I'm able to catch. So I decided, I can't live without this information. I do need to know, for example, what an if-else statement is, what's a for loop. So I went online and sought alternatives to find solutions to my problem, right? Reading tutorials, finding videos, and when in doubt, consulting my professors at school. Outcome of this entire process, I was able to learn how to code. I was able to find the software that I needed to code. So what kind of code editors I wanted to use. And this is the same process that I applied to, working with teammates or even learning new courses. And you might think that the entire process seems, rather common sense. And the thing is, and that's because it is, right? It's not easy, but by going through this entire process, we make things easier for other people to help us as well by helping ourselves at the beginning stage. So we've come to the end of the presentation. What have we learned? Number one, we have now hopefully a better understanding of the vision impaired. Number two, we realize that not all the time we can't just keep helping people with accessibility issues as well. People who benefit from this accessibility improvements also need to take their own role in being proactive. And as I said here, when life gives you lemons, make lemonade. Accessibility is a two-way process that we understand right now. And hopefully you guys also have a better understanding of some questions you can ask yourself in order to make things more accessible for the people around you. So that's it. Thank you all for listening. And if there's any questions, I'll be happy to take them. Otherwise, have a great day.